and we're going to need to just sort of set things up, take a brief moment that we'll need to set things up a little bit. Sometimes you just got to push the boundaries a little bit. Sometimes you just got to change things a little bit, because I couldn't find any way to balance the sunset and seeing the lion and rushing back for Fireside Chat. Because quite honestly, I'd actually like to rather just stay there with the cats for another 5 hours. Unfortunately, of course, we can't do that, so we've got to balance things up a little bit. But from sorry, scrub here, ran away before I could show you. But this would be the thing I would do at home. One of my favorite things, one of the things that I live for, is a full moon rising, finding something like cats or elephants, or, well, I do tend to like to find cats, because nothing better than spending a full moon with cats. But find something and then just spend the whole night with them out in the moonlight, not using any lights, and not necessarily having to look at them, but just spending time in their space and just listening to them feeding or doing whatever they do, and that acceptance that they show, that mutual, I don't know how to explain it, but you know, when you, I guess to explain it this way, to be able to sit with an animal, a wild animal, in the dark, just with moonlight, when that animal can quite easily get up and move, and I work, because if I'm sitting with something, I'm sitting with it, and it's important that there is that mutual acceptance that if the animal didn't want me there, it would get up and move away, or if I didn't want to be there, I would move away. But to be able to sit there and be part of that for a couple of hours, and the animal just lies there and just allows you to be there, be part of its space. And you don't have to put lights on it, because you don't have to have it on camera, but that is quite an amazing thing. It really, really is. So we are, looks like Scotty's done a good job here of putting, and Jason, they've put the shelter back up. It sounded like earlier, it sounded like the baboons had actually caused some havoc and knocked it down. Hello everybody!
Oh, good evening. How are you?
Good, and you? Wonderful. We've been wondering what happened to us.
We have been wondering.
Well, things were just too good, so I thought I'd steal some time of Fireside Chat.
Perfect. What were you looking at?
The sunset, the lion.
Good. The sunset was outraging.
So we're just going to go to the Juma Waterhole camp for a little bit while we're setting up. We're going to transfer a few things from the vehicle and set them up at Fireside Chat. So give us a couple of minutes. We'll be back with you shortly and carry on with Fireside Chat.
Okay, we ready?
Are you ready?
Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Fireside Chat. We're very sorry about the delay. It turns out that one of our cables evidently has broken, and that caused the delay. But welcome, and from myself and Mark, it's a beautiful evening here, and very happy to be around the fire.
Thanks for joining us. I'm glad you could. I'm glad you stayed with us through our drive. We did run a little bit late coming into our Fireside Chat, and well, it wasn't because of that. It was all just because of things not working. But it was good to be here, and it's hopefully we're not really going to be worried about time. We're just going to chat this evening and take it a little bit as long as it needs to go.
I would like to know a little bit more about why you were late for this evening's chat, and it was quite a funny thing. Usually if people are late, you are concerned or frustrated, but in this situation, I knew something exciting or beautiful was happening, so it was quite nice to
thanks for having faith in me.
To know that something good was going on out there.
There was. Well, I think the the beauty of it was the sunset, and then of course the reality of it was getting back to the lion and the buff on the kill, or on the buff kill. That in itself has been playing out over the last couple of days, and it's something that we very rarely get to see. We traverse such a small patch of such a big area that for incidents like that to happen on that tiny little patch of land that we get to traverse, it's always special to be able to see how it progresses and how it changes day to day, especially because we've been through weather changes a little bit, and so there's a whole change in the little micro ecosystem that was created.
There sure is. What do you think will happen with the hyena and the vultures? I was hoping that they were going to get their turn to get involved today, but obviously they're going to have to wait.
Those boys have strategically placed themselves around that kill that nothing's getting in, but I think you also would have noticed that they've put that kill under that quarry. And in that quarry bush where the kill is situated, the vultures can't come in, because as soon as they make a move to chase them, the vultures need a good run and take off. Vultures can't just fly into the air. They're such, especially when they've been gorging themselves. So it's very difficult for them to get down, not only even if it was out in the open, and you've also probably seen carcasses out in the open where lions are compelled to lie in the shade, and then the vultures come down and they've got to rush out of the shade in the heat of the day to chase the vultures off. But lions are clever, they've got it under their quarry to chase the vultures off. But these lions are clever, they've got it under that quarry bush. The vultures aren't getting near it.
They have done well. They have done well indeed.
Did you see any vultures near it? I mean, the closest were the hooded that were just on the dead tree and that buffalo thorn
we
above
saw
the kill.
2 hooded vultures on the ground
Okay.
when we arrived, not far from the carcass, but like you say, they were on the only small kind of runway in the area.
Yeah.
And if they had ventured any further towards the carcass, like you say, their escape routes or runway is very limited.
But they're the most tolerated of all the species of vultures, because they also eat the feces of the predators.
Yeah.
And especially things like the cats, because they don't digest that much of, they don't digest the hair, they don't digest the bone. So there are always fragments that are coming out that a vulture can actually use with its own digestive juices. So hooded vulture has got that ugly job. So
Yeah.
I think the lion and the dogs and the leopard, I've seen them where they've actually followed packs of dogs. The packs of dogs up in Salou had resident hooded vultures that followed them everywhere.
And those were big packs up there.
Yeah, there were some big packs. I was lucky. I was very lucky, in fact, to be able to live in a place where we saw up to 3 different packs, because the area was so big. We had the sort of southern pack, and then there were 2 other different packs.
Okay.
There was a pack of 5 that used to hang around an area where I used to do fly camping, and I used to follow them on foot on fly camps quite a lot, which was exciting.
Good.
And, yeah.
Good. Well, let's see if we can try and get in 1 or 2 questions. Sorry, Mark.
Okay.
So, VM, if there are any questions that have come through, please send them through to me. I am ready. And folks, just so that you know, you can ask us some questions now. So on email it would be questions@wildearth.tv, or on Twitter at #SafariLive. So send through some questions, and it is a great opportunity to chat about things that aren't necessarily related or relevant to what we may be looking at when we are out and drive, whereas now we could chat about anything. So send those questions through.
This is more or less like a rehash and a general discussion. It would be nice actually to get some subjects to discuss. We can't unfortunately get guests on our show, but of course it would be nice if we could, and we used to, if it was a little bit more consistent. But we've got only a few fireside chats left, and it would be nice to, if there was anything that we'd really wanted to discuss in depth, it would be nice to get some suggestions.
Yeah. Well, we do have a good question that's just come through, and it's targeted at both of us, so we're each going to have a turn at this. Okay. And it's from Craig in Salt Lake City. Good evening, Craig. Welcome to the Fireside Chat. And Craig has asked whether he understands that we love Africa, and that's why we are here doing what we do, and that's spot on. But he's interested to know whether we've traveled outside of Africa, and if we had to live anywhere outside of Africa, where would it be? So that is a good question, and I'll let Mark go first.
Yeah, thanks, dude. Okay, yes, I have visited. I've visited twice, I think, in my life. Yeah, that I've left Africa and gone for a brief visit elsewhere. And the last time was in a long time ago. It was 1996. I went to Europe and the States, and I spent a bunch of months doing both. It was a bit late to be traveling the world, because most people do it when they're sort of having a gap year or something, because when you're youngsters you can tolerate a lot of things. You can go to backpackers things, you can live in tents, and you can do overnight trails and sleep under a tree.
A little bit more flexible.
I was in my 30s, so I needed a little bit more comfort. But I was very lucky that I had some people to go and visit, and family, and it was nice catching up with people. But other than that, there's nowhere else I can live other than Africa. I mean, there's no question about it.
But that's not the question though, Mark. The question is, if you had to choose somewhere, you could choose anywhere. The Amazon, the moon. The moon's debatable. I don't know yet. I'm still thinking about it.
I would be part of this Mars trip.
Okay.
You know about this Mars trip?
I haven't heard too much about the Mars trip.
There are a bunch of people that are being recruited to. I mean, it's almost like something out of a movie. But there are these scientists and people that are being recruited for a manned mission to Mars. But it's a one-way ticket.
Okay.
Because it takes so long to get there, and once you're there aren't the initial stage rockets to be able. It's going to take a lot of evolution to build them from the base materials on Mars than it is in the modern world of
Fair enough.
the Earth.
Well, I think you'd be a good member to have on board to a trip to Mars, with all of your skills.
But they might be moot there if there's nothing. This
is true. For myself, Craig, I've never been to the Amazon, but it is a place that I would love to go to, and it is a wilderness area that, due to its incredible wildlife and its magnitude, it is a place that I would love to go to. So South America is a place, I guess, where I could potentially end up. But there's so many beautiful wildernesses in other parts of the world other than Africa. India's got incredible wilderness that I would love to see, so that's another continent where I could live. Yeah, for sure. So there are lots of wonderful wilderness areas outside of Africa, and it is important to remember that, although we do have some incredible characters and animals out here, as well as scenery and wilderness areas. So we are very spoilt. And
I think if I had to revise my answer because of what you've just said, because you've raised some thoughts in my head that I can't resist commenting on. I mean, places like Madagascar. I mean, it's part of Africa, but it's an entirely different planet, because they're mammals and birds and plants. There are 14 different baobabs on Madagascar.
Yeah.
So that would be something to visit.
For sure.
But I agree with you with the Amazon. I think that would be incredible, because everything would be so new, but it would be so vast that it would almost be overwhelming, and it would take something like that to be so overwhelmed. I think also the Pantanal, which I've learnt is sort of a South America's answer to the Okavango Delta, but different.
Yeah.
So I think there are a lot of places that, come to think of it, to visit, yes, but there's no place like home.
For sure.
And I clicked my heels together. My Mopani felt.
Good, well, thank you very much for that question. And Willem, if you've got another one, we are ready for you, sir.
What would be your center of your universe? I mean, if mine is a bit of Mopani felt, what would be yours?
The Mopani felt of Timbavati. Okay, hold on, I do have a question.
Okay. VM to the rescue. Not evading the question, just VM to the rescue. We all have our own center of our universes that we think is the one place that is home, like Dorothy had. What was it, Kansas?
Yeah, we've got a question through from Casey Marie in Kansas. Good evening, Casey Marie, and welcome to the Fireside Chats. Now, Casey's given us a lot of compliments and says she's been loving the drive, so we thank you for those compliments. And she is intrigued to know what we will be doing when our stint now with WildEarth comes to an end on the 31st of January.
I'll
go first this time because Marc went
go.
first last time. Sure. My plans at this stage are to probably base myself in Cape Town. It's a beautiful city with a lot of nature on your doorstep, and for me, I think it is time to base myself in a city and then try and do as many safaris and jobs in the bush when they come up. So ideally, and this is an ideal world, I would spend half the month or half the year in the city and half the year in the bush doing privately guided safaris, or potentially another stint with WildEarth in the future. So that is my plan, to go down and settle in Cape Town. I did spend 3 years there when I was at university, so I am familiar with it and love the city. So that is probably my plan, to drive down from here to Cape Town and set myself up there. So, yeah. Marc?
It's a nice plan.
Thank you. Thank you.
I've upped and moved to Cape Town once before, funnily enough.
Yes, I remember you telling me stories about the Mammoth voyage in your landy.
My landy with my bonsai trees. Yeah, it was Mammoth. It was quite incredible. And, it was a life-changing event for me. But it was also the one thing I think that you're going to love about Cape Town is, first of all, the fynbos.
Yep.
And of course the mountains. The mountains and the sea. And when you miss an elephant, go and look for a whale.
Exactly.
And somehow there's that same peace of mind, there's that same serenity that you get watching ellies. You get that when you're watching whales. And go and visit Gansbaai, where the best whale watching is.
Yeah, yeah. That is another thing that Cape Town is great for.
So for me, what I'm going to do, I haven't the faintest idea. I'm going home. I'm going home to see what the elephants have left me, what the rain has left me. I think my roof's fine. I braced it before I left. I've got a pile of thatch outside that needs to be looked after. I've got a lot of work to do. I've got to sort out a roof.
So you're going to be doing some DIY when you get home?
Yeah, a little bit of maintenance. And I never know when the next thing's going to come up. I might have something coming up for Salati, or don't know. I've got to also put myself out there and start trying to get some safaris up and running.
That is the beauty of this industry, though, Marc, and you'll know better than anyone, is that because it is quite it is a very small, close-knit community of guides and camp managers, and you end up knowing everybody after a short time in the industry. So if you are ever looking for work, the message spreads very quickly. And just like the way I got this job, I'd been back in South Africa for a week, and I got a phone call from a friend of mine from a lodge where I used to work, and he had heard through another friend that this job was available, so sent through my CV, and here I am. So, and that was after being out of the country for 2 years. I'd been back for a week, hadn't even looked for anything. So jobs can often find you, which is
well, I think it's all part of following your heart, because when you do something that you love, that somehow the universe will just always somehow bring it to you. I don't know, it's something that happened quite a lot in my life.
I agree, sir.
You get obstacles and you get a lot of things that you have to fight against, but ultimately when you're in the right place, the right thing happens at the right time. And it's like this gig right now, being here at WildEarth was very similar to me. I was at home and I was wishing for something to do for more than just a few days during the summer and interval periods by freelancing, and this came up to do the whole of summer in the Sabi Sand. It was a gift. It was so. This is our gift to you, is that we love doing this and we love being able to do what we do. We do indeed.
We do indeed. And speaking of which, because it has been the weekend, sadly we have had no luck getting a mechanic for Jigger, but hopefully tomorrow we're
going to try and deal with it.
Yeah, get our best to get Jigger back up and running, because that is going to help us show you what we love doing, and that's getting out there and showing you as many animals as we can, or plants or trees or anything.
And that's why you're going to be on drive in the morning and I'm going to be dealing with the Jigger problem.
I'm happy with that. I think you're a better person to deal with Jigger than me.
Oh, okay. What if I said I'm a better person to deal with it?
It's my turn tomorrow, Marc.
I know
it's my turn.
No, I'm not. Who am I to judge? But it is. Yeah, I can't believe how you just fell into this so well.
I've been very fortunate, Mark. I really have. And
No, you haven't. You've done it yourself. It's been you, Scott. We've had so many other presenters over the years that have, I guess, in a way, come and gone because they're not here. But there is a way to that you can fall into it straight away that it feels natural, because it's not about stage fright or thinking that. It's not about that kind of a thing. It's all these people that are sitting around us right now. I've got such bright lights on, I can't see anybody, but I can imagine that our whole audience is just sitting there, and they're sitting on camp chairs and they're listening to us talk on the fire, and that's a hard thing to fall into easily without trying to put on a persona or something. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I do, and thanks very much for your kind words, Mark. That does mean a lot to me, so thank you for that.
And on that note, well, how much fun did you have with leopards lately?
Oh, it's been incredible.
You got some pretty amazing photos. You got something in your ear.
I've just got a question coming through. Let's try squeeze in one more question, but carry on asking. Okay, one more question, Vim, and then I'm going to answer your question as well. But let me get this one away.
Well, anyways, he's had a really good time with leopards and lion recently. I have had my share, but I've also... You've had the best.
I've been very, very lucky with the leopard, Mark. I've tried to tell everyone, all the viewers, numerous times on Drive how lucky we are and how lucky we have been. And
Alex actually being there when it happened, I mean, that was amazing.
Yeah.
Because Alex has also had some phenomenal time with the leopard and the lion, and he was there when after I left the lion and they'd been sleeping, and he got there and they started hunting and they killed it. So he's also had a fantastic week this last week.
Yeah. So it is great for us to be able to also show you, the viewers, as much as we can, and just for our own personal satisfaction. We're all in the same vehicle or boat, I guess. We're all trying to, or wanting to see as much as possible. So when the going is good, like it is at the moment,
we're all in the same dung ball.
Yeah, exactly. We've got one more question that's come through from Patty. Good evening, Patty. It's been a question that's been asked very much, so I think we need to put this one to bed now.
Oh.
And Patty's question was, why is Jason's nickname Romeo? And you could let your imagination run wild, or I could also possibly just say that it would be too long to call him Casanova over the radio, so Romeo is just a little bit shorter than that. So as opposed to Casanova, we have chosen Romeo, and that should explain to you why he has got his nickname. So I'm glad we put this one to bed, because there have been so many people asking about this. And folks, we've just got about a minute and a half left. Is there any chance we can show the moon from...
I don't think so. No, there's too much tree in the way.
Too much tree in the way.
Because of what we had to change the camera angle, because we're shooting from the vehicle instead of the camera tripod, which is what delayed us.
Yeah.
This terminalia is in the way, but maybe...
But it is a beautiful full moon. It is full tonight, it appears.
Yeah, it is full. Maybe what we can
give it a bash, Romeo. Give it a bash.
We'll move the camera when we... Or Gary camera might get it. To the southeast.
Any feedback, Romeo?
There's too much tree, but I mean...
People can see that the moon is full.
There's definitely a moon in the sky.
Okay.